This is A View from the Bridge, official podcast of the Belfast Giants for kingdomofthegiants.com. Today's Tuesday, the 1st of October. Pinch punch, first of the month, as my kids told me this morning, 2024. My name is Patrick Smith. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitter X. And you can download us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all your normal podcast providers. If you're watching on YouTube, and you enjoy the show, hit like, subscribe, all that good stuff, or maybe even send us a review on the Apple Podcasts or the ratings on Spotify and all that. We love it. On this week's show, 3 points in the bag to begin our hunt of the Elite League title. All on the road and plenty to mull over. Bo Hanson will join us later in the show as we find out how he's settling into the teal jersey. And with it being the 25th season of the Belfast Giants, we'll be hoping to invite a number of Giants legends onto the show to discuss the club. And few come bigger in legend and stature than Jason Bowen, who will be joining us in just a while. Throw in some dops, some news, Player of the Month nominees, and we have a great show ahead. If you're watching live, get involved. Send us some messages on the chat box from Facebook or on YouTube. Send us a message on X. We'll keep an eye on it. Mr. McJimsey. You were up in Manchester on Saturday. I didn't get to see you, unfortunately. I was hoping to see you on Sunday in Sheffield. Didn't get to see you then. How are you?
I'm all right. I'll be honest, I'm exhausted. I've been burning the candle at both ends this whole last week. I was on a 6 o'clock flight to Edinburgh this morning, flew back in so I could do the podcast and all, you know. But like I say, £100 in diesel the weekend, I saw 20 minutes of hockey. So it was a funny old one, just the way the cards landed. Lily got called up for a little hockey tournament on Sunday.
Did well as well, mate.
I found out at 11:20 on Sunday morning, say at the top, what the heck is she doing, mate? And he's going, why are you still here? So I ran, my car was parked there, so I ran to the arena, got in my van and just bolted down the road and saw the last 20 minutes of her game, but it was well worth it.
Well worth it, mate. It looks like she had a ball and she did pretty well by all accounts.
She's doing quite well, yes. She's doing well at the minute. So what the most important thing about Lily's hockey, if you saw the picture put on Facebook, she's playing with a massive smile on her face. She just loves the game. So I've been trying to get it into her. You know, when you can see goals, take that 3 seconds and it's go on. Don't worry about it. And especially after the game, you can't change these things. You're 10, you're 11. Actually, now just enjoy playing hockey. She's got 2 tournaments coming up in a couple of weeks here. Where they get all day Thursday off school for one tournament, all day Friday off school for another tournament. And one of the mums was saying, like, that's an awful lot of time off school. I just, man, that is living the dream. I can't remember what it did in P6, but I can remember playing football. So, you know, they're the most important things. Get on the pitch.
Exactly it.
Mr. Sorry, I digress.
I'm Mr. Kitchen, how are you? Yeah, good, man. Good. I'm sort of getting on. I have a glass of wine tonight. It's been a bit of a difficult day, so I have a glass of wine with the podcast. Let's see how that goes.
Water.
What's that? It's a pink gin.
That's a pink gin.
It's a pink gin.
On a water bottle.
It's a first for A View from the Bridge. Is a pink gin. It's definitely not.
2024, mate.
No, but it's all good, mate. All good. Off down to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Sunday to see if anybody's watching, to see the New York Jets. So
you've been there before, haven't you?
Yes, I have. It's one of the best stadiums in the world. One of the best stadiums in the world. It's absolutely remarkable. So heading down there, I was talking to George Awada after the game on Sunday, just to highlight it's actually the New York Jets against the Minnesota Vikings. So just obviously his Minnesota Vikings. But it was but yep, looking forward to that. Anyway, listen, let's get cracking on with some hockey. The Belfast Giants finally began the quest to regain the Elite League title. With the first 2 games of league competition that took place in Manchester and Sheffield over the weekend. Let's start with that game in Manchester. It was a 7-3 win for your Belfast Giants. The Storm's goals coming from Doust, Durflinger, yeah, I'll do, and Griffiths, and then the goals to the Belfast Giants come from Conway, Cooper, Carpenter, Lee, Barriga, and then 2 more from Cooper for the hat-trick. In goals, Evan Wenger, 51 shots on, 6 goals against on the other side. Jackson Whistle started in nets for your Belfast Giants, 36 shots on, 3 goals against Tom Perring, and Andrew Dalton were your 2 referees. Giants went into this game missing a number of players, including Moran and Mismash. But, you know, Davy, it was an energetic opening, pulled out a 3-0 win. 3-0 lead in that first period before being pegged one back at the end of the first 20. But overall, my take from that all was I didn't feel that we were anything other than comfortable in that game.
Yeah, Joe Cassetti as well from the Dundee game, going out very late in the Dundee game. Obviously, been a big miss. It has a great start to the season. Just thought we talked about last week on the podcast. Neil Russell used to talk it every time, about starting on time, getting the foot on, etc., etc. And I just thought the Giants started so quick, and Manchester Storm just didn't have an answer in that opening period. Lovely little back end play from Josh Roach, a little tip from Elijah Briga, and picks away, and he gets a shot. Vinegar doesn't know where it goes, and Scott Conway, as we call him on the podcast, Johnny on the spot there, just the slam it home between the 5-hole to put us off the great start. It was less than 2 minutes in the game, and I think through the first, I'm going to say 6-7 minutes of the game, I don't think the Manchester Storm had anything but maybe a dump in the R zone. No possession up our end of the ice at all. The ice was really tilted in that first period. A lot of high energy players from the Giants. That line of Barriga, Piccinich, and Conway at the minute just seem to know where the other two are. The one seems to know where the other two are, and then you've got the two guys at the points on the day. I just thought it was a really, really strong, opening. There's a couple of really, really pretty goals as well. But we got ourselves into that strong position. And from then, it was more about game management. I know we went on and we scored 7 goals. We conceded a couple, one on the power play that, we've looked at again. But, there's obviously big talking points from the game as well. Here's a bit of a talking point there for me as well. There's Coops gets down, cross-check, punch in the back of the head. No call on that. It's just it was a game of strange calls and no calls. But, we came out of it, unfortunately, not completely healthy. But, you go into Manchester, first visit for a lot of boys, you come out with a 7-3 win, albeit not completely whole in bodies, but it's a good win.
Didn't realize that was actually on the Manchester Storm highlights when the what we're going to discuss in a few minutes. The other incident isn't on the highlights, but the says obviously the Storm were missing Critchlow, who we spoke to last week, Ouellette, who was suspended, and we'll come to that later in the show with regards to Dops. And there were 2 big misses, especially Ouellette, who's quite a goal scorer for them. They did bring in, I'm going to highlight this, they did bring in young Josh Crawley. I bring that because he lives around the corner from us, and I know I've spoken to his mum and dad quite often, and his grandfather in JC, and he's got his debut for the Storm, and from my point of view did really, really well. Got a couple of shifts, didn't disgrace himself, made himself seen, got a high energy. But the Storm overall, they're struggling at home at the minute, and this just told that as well.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about teams being short. Obviously, the Storm were missing a couple of guys. We were missing a few guys as well. But it's what you've got to take your opportunities. And one thing about Saturday, was the start of every period, we started strong. So we scored a goal in within the first 2 minutes. I think the second was just after this 2-minute mark. And then the third was around about the same as well. So when you're scoring goals, you're getting off to a good start in the period. It just it sort of settles you down a bit. I totally agree with what you said at the top, bringing in there, Paddy. At no point did we look in danger. I thought it was a really good team performance. I thought we were skating well. Jackson played very well. I think he's probably one of those back. Evan Vinegar, he was brilliant last year. I thought he was arguably one of the best goalies in the league last year. But there's 1 or 2 goals there that he should not have given up. That one there of Bo coming in on the right-hand side, I think it was, and then basically going top shelf. But there's 1 or 2 of them, his positioning, you'd probably question, because you shouldn't be coming in and going right across the goal and put it in top corner in that position. But again, I just thought we controlled the game very well. We managed it very well. We know we're coming into the game with 15 skaters, and then obviously we lose Bobo. And I know we're going to talk about that in a minute. We lose Bobo for the game, and Gabe Bass was thrown out. So you're down to basically 7 forwards and 5D, I think it was, we're playing with. And, for that to happen and to control and manage the game of ice time from a coaching point of view as well as the players' point of view, that's definitely something that Adam will be very, very pleased with. I was with him for lunch on Friday, and obviously being down Cassetti, Moran, Mismash, and obviously Zach Galambos hasn't skated yet for a while. So, you being down all those guys coming into the Manchester rank is always going to be tough because they, over the years they've been solid in there, and even they just don't seem to give up. But they had a tough game the night before. In fairness to them, they played against the Cardiff Devils the night before. That's a tough place to go into, and they come out with a big result against the Cardiff Devils in Cardiff. So it was tough for them as well. And Ouellette is probably their best player so far this season. Started very well, and then he scored a few goals, and obviously his temperament made him thrown out of the game against Cardiff the night before. So overall, solid performance. 7 goals away from home is always good. And if anything, if you want to be critical, I think Adam would probably disappoint at conceding 3. So tip top. Let's move on to Sheffield.
I think that from my point of view up in the way, and it was that, like I say, comfortable game enough. And it's not saying that the Storm didn't have their chances; they absolutely had their chances, and I thought we weathered them pretty well. But ultimately, the amount of times we've been in that rink where the momentum has changed so quickly, and I've mentioned it so many times on this podcast, where Manchester is a place where, quite obviously, we've been 4 goals up, and those 4 goals have just disappeared in the space of around 10-15 minutes, and next thing you know, you're fighting for your life. But it wasn't the case in this game, and I felt that, especially in those opening 10 minutes when we were just basically bash, it was really, really entertaining, and it was really good to see. And it looked like, considering that was the first opportunity I've had this season to see this team with my own eyes, and I was really pleasantly surprised pleased with what I saw. I thought that we were strong at the back. We were active going forward. The transition in this place is quick anyway. You can get caught up in sticks in the neutral zone. That wasn't happening. We were finding ways around it. They weren't able to play that game with us. And overall, like I say, it felt comfortable. Let's have a look at that at the instance with regards to Bobo Carpenter. Obviously he left the game midway through, he went for a hit on. Let's take the audio out. He went for a hit on Alexis Deust, which is there. Quite a clean hit, in my opinion. And then Dallas Earhart comes in, hits him in the back, down he goes, and we lose Bobo Carpenter to injury. What I'm going to start off with, I'm just going to have absolutely disgusted by the actual incident. And I know that Earhart is, comes across as a great guy, and I know that we've spoken to friends of ours like Neil, the coach Russell, and he says what a great temperament he has off the ice. This was a disgraceful thing for it to happen. Quite to attack a fellow professional from behind like this, retribution or not, it's a in my opinion, and you guys can dip in as you want. And I've spoken to other people about this, people who were on the ice at the time. It was a clean hit. If you want retribution, that is not the way you go about it. It's disgusting. It's gutless. It was a ridiculous way to approach this. And what hit me, and this is by the by, at that moment, I brought my kids to the game, and my 7-year-old daughter had been at the ice. She was coming back from the toilet. They'd been at the ice waiting to come up, and they saw this happen, and she came up, and she was like, "Daddy, he hit him in the back of the head." And I went, "I know." He says, "Does he go to the penalty box, or is he out of the game?" I went, "No, he's not out of the game." And she went, "Well, that's not fair." So it's just have to discuss fairness in sport with my 7-year-old daughter. I thought it was unsavory, the whole thing. Obviously, Bass gets kicked out, and Bobo is now, he could be out for a little bit of time. Well, it adopts through the book at Earhart. I'll not hold my breath. Davy?
I pause it there, Paddy, for context. I'm standing at the blue line there, no more than about 15, 20 feet from the incident. Couldn't have had a better view on it.
Yep.
Me and Sis talked about it. He's got his elbow tucked, his feet are off the ground or on the ground, and it's straight to the chest. Now, the only thing that I can mitigate for Earhart, and I don't need to do this, we're 3-0 down, and he's maybe seeing the opportunity. This is my old school opportunity to try and shift a wee bit of momentum, send the message, you're not going to mess with us. You're not going to lay those hitting our barn or whatever. But the way to do it is to get somebody to turn around and do it. You can't bare knuckle somebody on the back of the helmet. It's just absolutely unacceptable. You see it from a different angle. Obviously, I see it happening up the ice, going away from me. He gives him a big 2-handed slash across the legs. Bobo Carpenter is clearly not going to fight Dallas Earhart. He's getting himself, because the puck's going up the ice, coming down the right wing here. Bobo's first thought is get back into play and get into defensive position. And he's jumped from behind. As I say, big slash, pushing it back, and then a bare knuckle punch to the back of helmet. And he's obviously, you see the footage yourself. His head hits the ice pretty hard, and he obviously, as these hockey players for whatever reason do, try to stay in the game, and he played the rest of that period. Yeah. Minimal shifts. He got another bad knock to the head right at the end of the period as well. Bit of an elbow to the head, just on the buzzer.
Yeah, and
obviously doesn't play very much in the second period. Tries to have a go, but can't. And now, as you've said, Paddy, we might be looking at him being on the sidelines for a bit. I don't know what the outcome is there. Unacceptable. I don't know whether Dobbs do look at these, because he was given a 2-minute penalty for interference for a two-handed slash and a bare knuckle punch to the back of the head. Then on-looking sucker punch to the back of the head is. I'm not going to say anything at all about the officials in the situation, other than this incident from start to finish is unacceptable. Bobo Carpenter shouldn't have had a penalty at all.
At all. I don't understand how he gets a penalty.
If the incident is handled correctly, Gabe Bast isn't thrown out of the game, because there's not whatever goes on the ice for 5 or 6 minutes. It seemed like, when they were trying to sort out the bench as well. And 2 minutes for the bench. Adam wasn't happy, obviously, with the calls that were coming. I think it was more the call on Earhart that he wasn't happy with, because sometimes you can accept. Yeah, the referees see that they've got one look at that hit, they're thinking, "No, that's a big hit. There's probably something in that, so we'll give him 2 minutes." Fair enough, but the Earhart thing, I think, has triggered the reaction from the bench, because that's completely just I'll let Sis go on it, but unacceptable in every shape and form.
Yeah, I think Davy's right. I think Earhart's trying to basically get the team going, but if from behind, and there's 4 officials on the ice, and I'm assuming they didn't see anything, or they see minimal of it. Obviously, it's the camera angle. Well, if you actually watch the game, which it was, when I watched it back, you do see an angle from behind that end of the arena.
I don't know who that ref is, just because it's not zoomed up big. But look where this incident happens.
Well, that linesman's looking straight at it.
That linesman sees it because he's jumping in quick. That ref, I can say, is slightly, but the ref, there's the other linesman's no distance from it, and the other ref has got no players in between him. So while I'm saying not having to go at the refs, he's seen enough to put his hand up. I don't know whether that's still up from the Bobo incident, or whether that's
it's from the Bobo. When the Bobo, because I remember it right well, when the Bobo incident happened, the hand shot straight up, because I screamed, "There's not a chance that's a penalty."
I totally agree with you, Paddy. I thought it was a great hit. I mean, if that's the case, the game's gone soft. It was a fantastic hit. As Davey said, we talked about it the other day. He tucks his left shoulder in. The guy's coming through the blue line with his head down. You can't do that at this level. You can't do it at any level, but you can't do it at this level. And if Bobo hadn't have hit him, Adam probably would have benched him. He's got to stand up and throw the chest right through the shoulder right through in there. It was a brilliant hit. Again, Earhart looks to me, and I think Davey's absolutely right. It's sort of trying to set a fire under the belly of his guys on the bench after being 3-0 down and 7 minutes gone. And but that you can't be doing that. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be looked at from a point of view of suspension. But as I say, if you go straight, if you watch the game tape back, it's actually on the game tape, because you see it from the behind that net where we're looking at now. And you see basically straight up the ice off, taking a slash, dropping the gloves, punching him in the back of the head. A 2-minute penalty for that. You can't be doing that. And then at the end of the day, as I say, we not only lose Bobo to injury, but we lose Basti as well for the same, with it all happened within the same incident. So I thought it was disappointing for not to be called on what it should have been, because again, that would have put us hopefully on the power play. To then
came out that short-handed.
Yeah, and that's the bit that was disappointing with. But look, again, I understand referees don't see everything. I get that. But Earhart's got to look at himself there and go, do you know what? I was bang out of order. I have no idea if he went around and seen how Bobo was at the end of the game. I doubt it. I've spoke to Bobo in the last couple of days. I spoke to him today, and he's doing okay. He's feeling all right. But the bottom line is, I mean, when you've got a guy the way Bobo is there right now, face down on the ice, That's not good, especially when his mum and dad and wife and family members are probably watching that back home. That's the worst thing. And I know that the cameraman was literally just following that happened. That's the immediate aftermath of it. But you can't be looking at a player face down in the ice. That's not right.
Let's get the post game.
Well, I think that we just didn't have a very good start. We ended up chasing the game right away. So not a very good first half of the first period. At the end of the third period, we come in and we're down. And then, we're chasing the game now. I thought we were a little bit better in the second period, but again, our puck management was not as good as it was maybe in yesterday's game. But it's disappointing. We didn't have our best game today. I know that we're short, but so was Belfast. I mean, they were playing 3 lines 5D, and we're missing some guys too. So as far as that works out, that's even, right? So we just needed to have a little bit better puck management. I did like our compete level. We didn't quit. We kept battling, but every opportunity they had went into the back of our net. But our power play got one, which is always nice, but our penalty kill was a little bit off there today. Gave up a shorthanded goals. Can't do it.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a gutsy effort tonight. I thought we got off to a great start, and then the penalty trouble happened. Obviously, the game got out of hand. But I liked our guys' resiliency there. We were down to 8-5, and guys kept battling and kept growing their lead. So certainly no complaints from me. The guys emptied the tank here tonight to get the win.
Big thanks to the guys from Storm TV for the highlights. You can go to get that on YouTube from Manchester Storm TV, all the highlights of that game, all the goals, and a 7-3 victory for the Belfast Giants, and a great start to our attempts to regain the Elite League title. That continued as we travelled across the Pennines to South Yorkshire to take on the Sheffield Steelers, the reigning Grand Slam champions. And in a game that was punctuated by the fact the Giants were running short benched, it was a 3-2 shootout victory for the Sheffield Steelers. It was the Giants who opened the scoring. It was Mark Cooper on the power play, pegged back by Daniel Evans. Mitchell Balness in the third period put the Steelers ahead with a little over 10 minutes to go, only for Elijah Barriga to bring it to 2-2 with just under 4 minutes to go. It goes to what was a fantastic overtime period, and then a shootout, and then the Sheffield Steelers leaned heavily on Mitchell Balness, who came and took 3 penalty shots, and ultimately the winning one, a 3-2 victory for the Sheffield Steelers. Matt Greenfield in nets for the Steelers, registered 18 shots against, 2 goals against. The other side, Tom McCullum, 33 shots against, 2 goals against. Chris Wells and Andrew Dalton were your 2 referees. Says, I'll start with you in this one.
Ali, I'm going to start with you in this one, actually.
Oh, yeah. Okay, go for it.
You were at the game. Obviously coming into Sheffield off the back of a 7-3 victory the night before. And being down bodies, and obviously losing Bobo, and we obviously got Basti back for that game. But what was your thoughts on the way we competed, and obviously coming out and getting the first goal of the night?
The 2 goals were quite similar on the back of prolonged power plays, including a little bit of 5-on-3, and ultimately, I think that especially for the first 40 minutes, I felt the Giants were dictating the tempo, and the tempo wasn't high pace, but it was the Giants were dictating it. They were frustrating the Sheffield Steelers. They were playing their own game, and the Steelers were struggling to string passes together. Speaking to some of the Steelers fans and stuff that I know in the period break, they were finding the game quite boring. They were quite frustrated by the way that their own team were playing. I thought we were playing a great game, considering, and there's been, yes, we pointed it out at the time, and there's been quite a bit of social media nonsense as well, but we were playing short. You can't argue with that. We were going into the home of the champions, and who were full strength, having apparently already won some European trophy, and who were playing quite strongly. And we held our own, and we did really well with it. I felt that we were well worth what we got from the game. I would have loved to have seen us get more. But what was great to see as well, in the third, the Giants did start to tire. I thought that was going to happen, and you could see that the Steelers were coming back and back again. But Barriga, who was, I think, excellent all game, he took his opportunity, and forced us into overtime and did so really well. In fact, in overtime, I felt for him because he was obviously knackered. And at one point, he's got a break. You know the way this 3-on-3 overtime goes. At one point, he's got a break to get up ice, and he's like skidding through treacle. Really, it's like he couldn't get off. He couldn't get himself, get a change going on. But the Giants, I thought defensively we were strong. I thought offensively we were creating a lot of. I know I'm quite shocked it's only 18 shots against Greenfield. It felt like we were doing a lot more, but defensively we had to be strong, and we were. I know our guest coming up in Bo Hanson, I thought he had a phenomenal game, and I thought defensively right across the board, Basti played well, Hanson played well. I just thought we looked so strong. It was such an encouraging performance in what was a difficult setup, given that we were missing Carpenter and Mismatch, we were missing PO, we were missing so I thought Cassetti as well. Really, really pleased. And you look at the way that Fox leaned heavily on Balmus. Obviously, he unfortunately had a number of Tom McCullum in the shootout. That's just the way things go. Balmus is a great player. Scored a great goal to put them 2-1 up. Played really well. Scored some great goals. The second shootout goal I thought from Balmus was fantastic. Scott Conway was the pantomime villain both during and after the game. Very entertaining it was. I think when his name was read out at Sheffield Arena, the entire arena booed. I got booed as well at Sheffield Arena. They put me on screen for some reason, and I got a score doing at Sheffield Arena, so that was entertaining. But yeah, when it comes to Sheffield, like you could see they were I know I'm sort of babbling on here, but you could see that they were getting really frustrated. And one of the players which quite shocked me was Kevin Tansey. Now Tansey is a great D-man, but the more that game went on, the more frustrated he got, the less effective he was. And he started to throw his weight about. And you could see that the frustration was kicking into the Sheffield, and the way that was going was very, very entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty agree with that. I mean, being down to 5 defensemen, there was one stage when Basti and Hanson were both in the penalty box as well. We're down, I think it was a short 5-on-3 that got. And, I think Hanson they scored on that power play. Was that the one where he flicked over the glass? And like nobody means to do that. But that's one of those penalties where that's difficult to try and to just clear the puck, and it's obviously taking a bit of a bobble, and he's thrown it up over the glass. And that glass at Sheffield for the sides is actually quite high. But I thought we played very, very well. I know Adam's very pleased with the effort and very pleased with the way we basically put ourselves together and kept it going. Like it gets down to penalty shots. Balmas sort of had, as you say, he had Tom McCollum's number. He played very well. But it's one of those ones where it's, I think the boys will be disappointed not to actually pick up the 2 points. But when you look at the overall picture of the weekend, 3 points from those 2 opening games away to Sheffield and not Manchester, I think Adam would be very, very pleased with that. It's you obviously want to win your home games. But on the road, if you can get points on the road in any of these buildings, it is tough to go into. I thought we did very, very well. What's your thoughts, Davey?
I know we've got Player of the Month conversation coming up later on, so I want to keep my powder dry when it comes to Mark Cooper. But a captain's, performance in both games over the weekend. Coop's 2 shorthanded goals this season, but on Saturday night, shorthanded goal, even strength goal, power play goal, comes up with that massive tip. We talked about him on the power play last week about getting in front of goalies, little fly screens and stuff. When you've got JJ Piccinich and you've got Scott Conway and you've got Kawaguchi, creating for you, Mark Cooper's job on that power play is to get down low into what we used to call Mark Cooper's office, and he just get in front, and that's a big body in front there, and hang on, those tip ins are a high level skill. What do you call the boy that used to play for the Wings? Used to love watching. We're 90, 96.
Hanson.
No, not Franson, but Swedish.
Holmberg.
What?
Holmberg.
Thompson or Holmstrom.
Yeah.
Holmstrom used to just get into the blue paint there, and just that skill of just being able to get those tips, and that Coops has come up with that lovely tip up over Greenfield's shoulder. We talked on Saturday night about starting on time. We started on time again against Sunday. You get yourself in front, and you get that little bit of momentum, a little bit of belief on the bench as well. Hey, we're in a game here. And they have to chase then. And they chased, and okay, they chased us down in third period. penalty shots as Larry. We could have won that game in overtime. We could have won that game in penalty shots, but that's all right. That's a point gain for me on Saturday night. You know, that's a 3-point weekend. That's a really strong for having Big Joe out, for Bobo missing out on Sunday, for Basti missing on Saturday, for Mismash, for PO being out. That's a strong performance. I think the goalies have been excellent. I think that's 5 games now. We've had 6 games maybe. Really strong performance defensively, and that sets you up for good things to happen offensively. So really pleased with how the weekend went.
I felt that you mentioned him there. I felt that that line of Barriga, Lake, and Cooper all weekend long was our strongest line. I felt that they both in Manchester and in Sheffield, they were dominating the play. They were high energy. They were getting the looks. They were getting the chances, and they were getting the goals. And really, really good to see that we can, because obviously you looked at the cons, you looked at the JJ who got man of the match, and I thought again, you could have picked any number. I think, and this is no disrespect to JJ, who had a great game. You could have picked any number in that lineup on Sunday and given the man of match performance, because to a man, they put an absolute shift in. And and that's what you want to see. That's why when I came away and I was digesting it on the way back to Manchester, you want to see, especially at this stage, you think, are these games against Sheffield? We talked about it. Is this too early to face Sheffield? When it comes to it, but you got to face them 3 times there. You got to face them 3 times at home. You got to face them whenever. But to have that performance with what we had was just a little more than just encouraging. To come away with a point, to be on the verge of 2, and to take the lead and to battle them in their own barn the way that we did, it bodes well. Hopefully, we get the players back in the lineup. We get the players back when we come to the other big games and every game. But we get the players back in the lineup and we can battle, because what we saw on Sunday showed that this team has something.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. I thought that, when you're playing short on bodies, and we didn't look out of place in Sheffield against the best team in the league last season. They've kept the core of their unit from last year, and they've added some really nice pieces, to be very honest with you. But we did not look out of place, and we're playing 3 guys short, 3 imports short. So I thought we really looked, we do look like a really good team this year. Yes, we're scoring in bunches at the minute, which is great. You want to keep that. You want to keep the offensive going. Defensively, we've got stronger over the last 2 weekends. Goaltending's been great. And one thing I want to say is, and again, it's different when you're watching it on TV than what you're watching in the arena, Paddy. But I thought the 3-on-3 was brilliant. I thought it really did.
Remarkable.
For the point of view of the elite league, and that is so fast paced. I think it was 3.5 minutes before the first whistle. In the 3-on-3, and it was just end to end. It was brilliant. It must be really good in the arena too.
I said Barriga. It was actually Kawaguchi who would look like who was skating through trigger. It was Kawaguchi who was it's Kawaguchi, Lick and Kawaguchi, Lick and
Osterberg,
Cooper.
Lick, and Cooper.
Yeah, Osterberg, but like some of the absolute superb. But I thought Kawaguchi in 3-on-3, he was the one who was looking knackered, skating through treacle. I thought but again, another player on the night who put an absolute shift in. It was really, really very entertaining. I thought it was a great game, start to finish. It was real. I know some guys came forward. Oh no, it was boring at parts. I found it. I was like, I like the way that, I was enjoying the way my team was playing. I was enjoying the way they were frustrated in the position they were. I was enjoying the fact that they were leading. I was enjoying the fact that we were giving it to the champions in the way that we did. And hopefully when we get the full lineup back, we can do even more. Let's get the post game and come back with Bo Hanson.
Yeah, big hockey game tonight. I know it's game 1 of a very long playoff in this country, so it was nice to come out on top. I thought we were actually really, really good all night long. I think we gave up 6 or 7 5-on-5 shots tonight, which is just outstanding defensive hockey. That's kind of what set us apart last year as well, and to have that type of effort from our group tonight after a tough road game in Nottingham last night was huge. Credit to Belfast, good hockey team. We know that they're going to be there, all year long and be competing for this trophy. So we caught them a little bit light with some injury issues they had, and they still pushed very hard tonight. And really good hockey team. So happy for Balms to kind of get the monkey off the back with that first goal.
tonight of his league campaign and year, and then in the penalty shots, it was pretty special going 3 for 3, and that, you know, in this type of atmosphere with the stakes as high as they are against a good team like Belfast was great.
I thought it was a great game. I think both teams will probably leave happy after that. I know it sounds weird, only getting a point, but you know, that's a very good team. Sheffield, obviously, success they've had last season and Champions League, we retained their core group of players from last year and added some pretty good ones. So we know they're a very good team. We came in here, pretty depleted from last night. Had a tough battle last night in Manchester, and I thought the guys battled, and fought back and got a very important point here on the road. I think it's a great start. I'm always a big believer in early adversity if you handle it the right way, and our guys certainly passed that first test. So I'm very happy.
And you can get the highlights, of course, from our friends at Steelers TV on YouTube. And Davy's sort of disappearing. What are you using there, Davy? Just trying to keep the lights off.
It's just a single match, mate.
Right, let's have our first guest. We spoke about him earlier on. He's joined the Belfast Giants from Aalborg. Been playing really well in defence, and we're delighted to be joined by Bo Hanson. How are you doing, Bo?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Doing really well. Give us you've been patiently sitting in the background while we've been withering on, but from a guy who's got the experience of being on the ice at the weekend, what was your take on the two games?
Two completely different games. Like Manchester brought a whole different challenge than I think they tried to prepare us for as best as we could with that rink and that atmosphere. But I thought we came out, we started on time. Jumped to an early lead, and then it's just it was a battle, like small ice. They turned it on there, and we weathered the storms that they had, and we pushed back pretty hard. So that was a fun one to get away from with a nice lead and big win, and going to, I want to say those are probably our biggest rivals in Sheffield right now. So it was fun to get a treat for that kind of atmosphere and those kind of games, and like those are the games you want to play in too, right? Like in the locker room, Coach Kiefer was talking about how that was a playoff game, right? And it's game 2 of the Elite League campaign, and it was a battle, and so it's exciting. Those are games you want to play in, and those are games you want to win in the long term too.
How you said it there, how difficult mindset it's had to be in, because obviously, you're coming in fresh to this league, and we always say the 2 points in September and October mean as much as 2 points in February and March. So you are in a playoff scenario now going into that. You have to go and be dialed in for more or less every game. Is that a difficult mindset to go in for? Or is that just that's the job of a hockey player?
Well, I think the coaching staff has really prepared us well for that kind of mindset. They've talked about, honestly, since we've been here, whenever it was in August, about how every single game matters. And so that's kind of my mindset going into it, is trying to prepare every single game like it's the most important one. And I think that's how a lot of guys do as well, because I don't think they've proven it. They've showed us statistics and stuff, like you can't take a night off in this league. And hopefully we can keep the train rolling and just keep working and keep getting better,
Bo, our keeper was talking in his post-match interview there about early adversity, and obviously we've faced a significant amount already for it being the first day of October. A lot of injuries and a lot of bodies going down there, but Jeff Baum mentioned it himself after the game on Sunday night. This next man up mentality, boys just have to keep trucking here.
Absolutely. I think Bomber said that great. It is the next man up mentality, whether someone gets hurt or like Basti gets kicked out of the game. We rally around that. We're ready to go. We have a very, very talented group, very talented team, very deep. And I think it's just we have a great organization, a great team. And I have no doubt in anybody's ability to step up to the plate when they're called upon.
Oh, obviously you're 6 games into a season now, competitive wise anyway. You've got the experience to taking a ferry over to Scotland. You've got the experience, obviously, taking a flight, the 40-minute flight to England to play against Manchester and the Steelers. But what's your overall view on the competition that you've faced so far?
Oh, it's been great. Every team possesses their own set of challenges. Let's see, we played Dundee, Fife, Manchester, and Sheffield now. And each team that can come at you in different ways, and you got to be ready for it. Sheffield obviously has a really strong team, really talented players up front. Dundee, I thought, was really fast and could play a different game than, I don't know. I think it's a team we got to be ready for down the stretch. Can't take lightly at all. Same with Fife, and Manchester was their own animal in their own barn too. So it's fun. Like every team, you got to come ready to play each and every night. Obviously, like we mentioned, that every game you need to win if you want to win the regular season trophy. So it's about taking every team seriously, I think, too. And obviously, there's good players on each team, and you got to know when they're out there. And like my job is to play defense, so I got to know who those guys are and be ready for whoever jumps over the boards.
We know that defensemen usually play more minutes than forwards, but with the ice time at the weekend, and I know you sort of got an extra day off this week, not so much just relaxing. But how did you manage your minutes at the weekend, because you played a ton?
I have so much fun. It's fun to play hockey. Like I love getting a chance to compete. So I got no problem with it. I think I'm in decent enough shape that I can keep her going. But it's something that you got to be smart about too, right? So like in Manchester we had 5, Sheffield we had 5 and 6 sometimes because Rochi was jumping up and back a bit. But sometimes you got to be smart with your shifts. Like you had to pick and choose your battles where you want to jump into the rush. Like I like to skate too, so it's like I had to be a bit smarter in both nights of where I can jump up and expend energy here and there. But yeah, it's definitely tougher, especially when guys go down with injuries like we've had. But I think we did a great job of just battling and competing this weekend.
You've had a few defensive partnerships already this season, but you've Mike Lee back there, you've Basti, Kieran Long's been dropping back at times, Jeff Baum, Pounder. Obviously, we haven't seen too much of Zach. Are you pleased with the little defensive core you've pulled together?
Yeah, I think everybody's extremely talented back there too. The thing that I'm most impressed with is how well I think every guy can skate, and I think that's huge in the way we want to play and the way the game's changing and stuff too. But let's see, it's like I started the season playing with Basti. He's awesome. He's a great player. He's got a great set of skill. He can defend really well as well. And then I think I was playing with Rochi, or I was supposed to play with. I played with Rochi in Dundee last weekend, and that was solid too. And then I played with Longer a bit as well. And every single guy is capable back there. And every time you jump over the boards, and the same thing goes with our forwards as well. Like when you're going out there, you got a chance to score a goal, or you're not worried about who you're on the ice with at all.
And I don't know whether Paddy's got it set up. You talk about being defensively minded first here, but obviously the Paddy's going to try and drag it through. Our second goal on Sunday night, you and here's this little pass here where Rochi just splits the middle and finds Eli on the back post there. That's a little offensive setup from the blue line.
Yeah, it's that was funny. Like we talked about it before coming into that draw, that we were going to look to try to spring Rochi here, and just we won the draw nice. Gave a little dink pass to Rochi there, and the rest is kind of magical there. How it bounced to Easy E there. And it's just like trying to contribute where I can. We have great forwards, so I'm just trying to get the puck in their hands. Changed my role a little bit from maybe a previous year where I was a bit more offensive minded in Denmark last year, but maybe that'll come later down once we get more comfortable and keep rolling.
You mentioned Denmark there. Let me just have a quick chat about that, because obviously, you went through the NCAA, you were at St. Lawrence, you were at the University of Denver, you went in, but then you've decided to make the jump. You had a bit of time back in Iowa with the Wild. You got a game there, but you're ECHL. Where does the decision come to go to Denmark? Where does the decision? We asked this from a lot of guys, but like, where does the decision come? You know what? I'm going to go to Europe, and why specifically Denmark?
Well, to just go to Europe in general, it's kind of you want to. So, sorry, I'll backtrack here a little bit. So when I was growing up, I always heard, like, when I was choosing between going to college hockey or maybe major junior or whatnot, and there was always this saying that was like, use college hockey, don't let college hockey use you. And like, I used college hockey. I got to see 3 different schools. I have an undergraduate degree, and then I started working on 2 different master's programs. And honestly, I kind of took that into the pro life as well too, where like I played that year of pro in North America. And honestly, like I want to use hockey, and like I'm using hockey to, like, I got to experience the Danish culture last year, which was awesome. Got to see a whole new country. I get to see Belfast this year, and honestly, I'm loving it so far. So honestly, it's kind of helping me be able to see the world a little bit, experience new cultures, see new things, and just, I don't know, you got to enjoy life. It's just a game, and like I love it. I love competing, and I have so much fun doing it. But it's also about seeing where it can take you in the world too.
That's it, isn't it? And I think that. Sorry, Dave, you go ahead.
So I was just going to say, I love that. It's a really refreshing
good attitude
mindset. That I haven't heard the term, that term before. But it's really so on Belfast so far. How's things been for you?
Oh, it's been great. Off the ice is awesome. Maybe tried a couple too many pints of Guinness, but it goes down like water over here. But no, it's so fun. Like even just today, like I walked into town, beautiful sunny day. You don't get too many of those in Belfast, I'm hearing. We've had a few, but walked into town today. And that's what I like to do too. Like when I was in Aalborg last year, I'd walk into town to try to get lunch frequently. And the same thing here. Like I went to the gym today a little bit, and then got to walk around, grab a cup of coffee, and grab some lunch. And I don't know, it's just it's refreshing. It's a nice town, and I enjoy it so far.
Next up, Cardiff Devils, Saturday, back on the ice tomorrow morning. This is a big test. You've obviously faced the Devils in pre-season this year, but when it comes to competitive games, it's a wee bit different, and they'll be a tough nut to crack. But I'm sure we're going to be ready.
Yeah, no, it's I think we got them a little bit tired too in the preseason, but I guarantee you they're going to want to kind of redeem themselves for how. I mean, what did we win 5-0 against them in preseason? So I got a feeling they're going to have a little bit of chip on their shoulder from that, and I'm sure we'll have a good couple days of preparation. And it's fun to play in front of the passionate fans here. So like I'm super excited. Like the SSE, I don't know. I think the SSE is better than Sheffield's rink. So if
of course it is.
It's super fun playing there, and I can't wait to get back out there.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Bo, listen, we really appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us, and no doubt we'll speak to you again as the season goes on. Good luck on Saturday.
Awesome. Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.
Cheers, Bo.
Let's go.
Big thanks to Bo Hanson for joining us on this week's A View from the Bridge. Really delighted that he's able to come on. I thought he played really well at the weekend. Right. Open disclosure says.
Yeah, so we were supposed to have Jason Bowen. I think he's fallen asleep. Now he is getting on a bit. I think he's slightly older than me. So I've been texting him. Everybody probably said, "What's he doing?" Is looking down and not looking at the screen. I've been trying to text him to wake him up. I've been phoning him, and unfortunately, we haven't been able to get a hold of him. I even text Rob Stewart and Shane Johnson, again older than me. They're probably in their bed.
We'll put that to the side.
We went back to what we know best, and that is with regards a much younger player. Another guy who's on our rosters again this year, and it's absolutely fantastic to have him back in Belfast. Man of the match of the weekend against the Sheffield Steelers, and JJ Piccinich has pulled us out of a hole.
JJ,
how we doing, guys?
What's going on? 90 degrees of your phone.
I always,
every time.
JJ. To get that wrong.
Every time, yeah. Every time. Thanks for joining us, mate. You're especially at such short notice. Let's start with the normal question. I asked it to Bo. I'll ask it to you. Your take on how the weekend went. Being back in Manchester, first of all, I'm sure you missed that ice.
Yeah, it was a good weekend. Like to get 3 out of the 4 points with kind of the injuries we're dealing with at the moment. It was sweet. So, I mean, although you're competitive, you always want 4 out of 4. But, I mean, I think everyone's pretty happy with 3 out of 4. And we can get healthy again and get those Steelers back next time. And, yeah, I mean, the Manchester rink, it is what it is. It's the definition of you're in, you're out. And it's business trip, right? So, it is what it is. So, that was good.
It is. And, going into Sunday's game against Sheffield and knowing what you're up against there and knowing what you've got when you look around you in the locker room, having to dig deep, you must be pleased with the way that not just yourself, you're a man of the match. And as I said earlier on, there were so many great performances on Sunday, but you must be pleased with the way that the lads around you performed as well to come out of there with the point.
Yeah, I mean, I think the man of the match could have went to loads of guys, like kind of like how you're saying. Yeah, I think just the resilience up and down our roster has been pretty sweet. Like, we're getting contributions from everyone right now, so it feels really good because you just don't know who's going to strike on any given day. And we go down 2-1 there late, and there's really not much worry. We get Rochi makes a nice little play into the inside, puck squirts to Elijah there, and we take it to overtime and we get our point, which is great. I mean, we probably could add 2 points there in overtime too with a couple good chances. So, I mean, we're right there with a short roster. Who knows what we can be when we're healthy, and it's good to get the adversity in because as everyone knows, the season is full of ups and downs. So it was really a good weekend for us. We got to keep building off of it.
3-on-3 overtime, just before that, David, 3-on-3 overtime is just such an entertaining part of the game as well. So especially in Sheffield, and one of the things I commented on when I was watching in the arena was there's so much ice out there to play with. But likewise, we saw how the legs of Karaguchi of him trying to get up ice when he was absolutely knackered. Likewise, if you don't do a quick shift, you're going to get tired very, very quickly. How exciting is it to play in that sort of 3-on-3 scenario?
Yeah, it's super exciting. You said it. Like when you only have 8 forwards for two games, and you're on the second leg of the game in overtime, everyone's tired. Like it's just the nature of what's transpired. So yeah, like you have to take quick shifts. I mean, I kind of wish we changed more with the puck. I think maybe we did a couple times, but just rewatching some of my shifts, because we get all our shifts kind of sent to us. So I rewatched some of my shifts. I'm like, maybe we could have changed with the puck there. I could have taken it back, could have gone to change. And then that's how you can really come with an offensive wave in the overtime, is when, you kind of bring the puck to like the neutral zone. You get 2 guys off, get 2 guys back on, and then you can re-enter the offensive zone without letting them change. And then we get 2 fresh guys. So it's like, just a couple of minor things, but like, we did great in the overtime, and we did great. It came down to, sudden death penalties in the shootout. So, I can't ask for much more.
JJ, we were talking at the very top of the show about my little daughter who started playing hockey, and I'm telling her that the most important thing in the game, apart from winning, obviously, is just to have fun. And obviously, you're back with Scott and Elijah there. That line looks like it's a lot of fun to play on.
Yeah, it's been so much fun. Like, obviously, like I'm familiar with Scott. Like, I kind of know where he's going to be. I know what he's going to do. So it's been really a pleasure being back with him. He wins so many face-offs, which is such a huge thing that maybe sometimes goes overlooked. He's so good in the face-off circle, and you're able to start with the puck, and we're able to run plays off it. And just playing with him and knowing where he's going to be has been awesome. And then kind of you have a guy in Elijah who kind of, he forechecks so hard. He gets up and down the ice so well. He sees the plays, and getting to know him on the ice has been really good, because just like knowing what kind of speed he brings and what kind of how he can be effective is just awesome. And I think for myself, coming back, Scott's familiar with me, and now Elijah's getting familiar with me. I can make plays up and down the walls and work hard and make plays out of the corner. So it's been really good.
The coming home decision working out okay for you then?
Yeah, it's been great, guys. It's been awesome.
JJ, catch you here, big fan. Thanks for putting us out of a hole, by the way. Next up, again, you've got the Cardiff Devils. Now, you've had a good success over them over the years. The last competitive game you played against them wasn't so successful. Does that still stick in the back of your head? Obviously, that playoff final 2022, I think it was 21. But does that still stick in the back of your head?
Yeah, I mean, that was in a way it does. I mean, what would be more fresh is probably the preseason game, to be honest. But like, there is a bit of like, they did last time I was here, they stole a trophy from us, so there is that aspect of it. But they're a pretty different looking team from, I'm not, you guys would be better with rosters than I am, to be honest with you. But they have some firepower. Like, Zach O'Brien I played with years ago in the Coast, and he's a good player. We'll have to watch out for him. They have a couple good players, so but we'll have to be ready for them. We beat them in the preseason. You know, they were a bit maybe getting their legs under them still. We'll have to see what they bring. We have to be ready for them.
And obviously the way the season started off, Sunday against the Steelers was our first loss of the season. But again, I know you've just touched on it, but you must be happy with the effort. 10 games in, even including preseason.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of been on a roll. We've been on like an undercover kind of streak here. I mean, we've been playing pretty good hockey, and like you know, it's not an easy barn to walk into and get a point, and so you know, it's we're really happy about that. And like I was saying before, you know, the competitive side of us is going to say, you know, let's get 2 next time. You know, we can always get 2, but I think, you know, after you know, hindsight, you know, it's like, yeah, 1 point is great. Like, you know, we're really happy with it, and you know, we owe them one now. When they come to us, and the next time we play them, we'll make sure we finish the job all the way.
JJ, before we let you go, we're going to move on just to the next segment. We're looking at a little bit of input from yourself. It's that time of the month where we talk about the player of the month for September. We asked you, all our people on Twitter and X and all that, to give us their nominations. And from the nominations they give us, we've drawn up the following short list. 26, Mark Cooper. Number 29, Jordan Kawaguchi. Number 77, Josh Roach. And we're actually going with the goalie tandem. Number 1, Jackson Whistle. And number 33, Tom McCullum. What we're going to do is we're going to put these 4 nominees. We're doing the goalies as a goalie tandem because of the way they've played over the last month. And we're going to put it out to the public vote. That'll go online on Wednesday morning and will be open until Saturday, and then hopefully we'll be able to present the A View from the Bridge Player of the Month award on the game against the Cardiff Devils. JJ, start thinking. I'm going to go to Davy first. Davy, of those 4 nominees, when you take the goalies as one, what are your thoughts?
Like four good nominations, and to be quite honest, you could have picked a handful of other players as well, because I think over the start of this month, with the adversity that Adam's talked about, you know, bodies being out, players having to play like silly ice time, boys getting opportunities, like Jeff Baum said, the next man up. But for me, I just think that with the way last season worked out with him, an injury, and him coming back towards the end of the season and feeling his way back in, and he's came back and hit his straps early in Mark Cooper. A couple of short-handed goals was referenced earlier. Shorty, power play goal, even strength goal on Saturday night, comes up with that big first goal on Sunday night. Leadership that you can't quantify. I think for me, Mark Cooper's been exceptional this month, and long may it continue. He'll be getting my vote.
So we'll jump in there in front of him. Paddy, what about yourself?
Right. Jordan Kawaguchi for me. I think the speed, the skill, the strength that he has, the way that he's been playing, I think he's a breath of fresh air. I think he's a really, really entertaining player to watch play. I think the goals that he scored, and I've been a big fan of him. The way he seemed to have come in and hit the ground running in a team and an organization that is new to him, and fundamentally, I thought he's been one of the best players of the last 4 or 5 weeks. So like I say, this weekend I got to see both games in Manchester and in Sheffield. It was the first opportunity I had to watch the whole team play. So, and Kawaguchi really stood out for me, and therefore he would be getting my vote. Mr. Kitchen, you're next.
I think it's Jordan Kawaguchi. I agree with David. Coops came into the season after, he picked up that broken foot in just late December, early January. He was out for quite a while and didn't really find his feet, excuse the pun. I know he was a wee bit disappointed the way he finished last season, and when he got the first goal this season, he actually said to me, "That's the first one. That's off my back. I'm ready to go." Coops has been brilliant. I mean, he's been really, really good. But somebody coming into the league for the first time is always a little bit more difficult, in my opinion. And Gooch has been absolutely outstanding. I think it's fair to say, and JJ might correct me here, but I think all the boys want to play with him. It looks like that in practice. Every time, he's doing a rush in a practice, whether it's a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-1 or a 3-on-2, whatever it may be, there's guys jumping up to play with him. And because they know they're going to get a good pass. He's so smart. He's got a great shot. and I think he's been absolutely outstanding in the first 6 weeks of the season. So this month I'll be voting for Jordan Kawaguchi.
And your nominee, JJ Piccinich.
It's tough. I like everything you guys said there. I agree with just about all of it. Gooch has been an extremely big part of our team. He's super smart, like you were saying. Great passer. He's been fine in the back of the net. But I'm gonna go with Mark Cooper, the captain, for the September nomination. The leadership, coming back off the foot injury. It's really close. Basically a tie for me, but I'm going to go with Coops because he's got the letter and he's coming off injury.
Fantastic. Like I say, the poll will open on X on Wednesday morning, and it'll run all the way to Saturday. Cast your vote on who you think should be the player of the month, the View from the Bridge player of the month for September. And with that, the JJ, one last question. That Cardiff are in on Saturday. How's the prep going?
Yeah, we'll get started this week. There'll definitely be video. We'll have to watch out for their power play, some more D zone stuff. Yeah, we'll have to be ready for them. They can they swarm the puck well on their own end. They play a swarm defense in the D zone, so we'll have to be ready for that. And that'll be it for now.
Listen, mate, you pulled us out of a hole there. You've jumped on at very short notice. You've given us some great chat, some great nominations. We really do appreciate it. Good luck this weekend. And no doubt we'll chat to you again before the season's done.
My pleasure, guys. No worries.
Great accent.
No.
Couple of months until the Friendship 4. Big thanks again to JJ. Always good to have him on. Always very candid, very open, and good chat, and very entertaining. Top lad, says.
He's a great lad. His accent's funny. Like, I mean, the more time he spends here, he's got a girlfriend here now and living down the North Down coast. But his accent's absolutely brilliant. What?
On the coast?
North Down coast, yes. But yeah, he's just a top lad. And look, we ranted and raved about him. When he was here a couple of years ago. What a player as well. Him and Cons together have been absolutely brilliant back then, and again, they've started off the season in a really good vein of form as well. So long may that continue.
Yeah, the link up all weekend was a delight to watch, and hopefully that just gets stronger and stronger. Let's do a bit of news. Let's go to the Department of Player Safety. I haven't got the soundboard set up, so we'll not be able to do that. You can sing it if you want, Davy. You can sing it yourself if you want. No?
If they go by the name of their department, then they'll be speaking to Dallas Airport this week.
Well, you'd like to think so, but unfortunately, I don't hold up much hope on that. When it comes to DOPS, it was Lauren Ullett of the Manchester Storm who's been assessed a 3-game suspension. Dear boys, have you seen this? Davey, go ahead. You go for it.
It's just a bit of a head loss, isn't it?
Yeah, he has lost.
That's all you can sort of just say. That's a wee bit of red mist that came down there. There's obviously a bit of the slash there, and then it obviously continues where goalie gets run over, and then it just kind of snowballs from there, and he just takes a wee bit of exception to the whole situation, and he comes from nowhere and gets involved, and it's just a head loss, man. You can't say really much more than that. This is a bit naughty, and then it just snowballs, and the head's gone.
3 games, says.
Yeah, you can't be doing that. I mean, just out of interest, was the goal allowed?
Yes. So what happened was the goal was allowed. Then there was a major, I think it was 5-minute penalty plus a game misconduct, which then subsequently led to the Cardiff Devils pulling it from 5-3 to 5-5, and then it goes into overtime, and Manchester score the difference. But yeah, it was the goal was allowed. This happened after the goal, and then they subsequently scored 2 more on the major penalty.
Well, I'm going to be honest. If the goal's allowed, I mean, if you watch Barrow here coming in off the left flank and he drives the net, fair play to him. He gets a bit of a hack here.
There, yeah.
When he tries to slow up, I don't think he's pushed in. That's goaltender interference for the start. However, it doesn't justify getting two-handed on the shorts with a stick from Ouellette. He's just lost a head there. I mean, it obviously didn't affect the result. Well, it didn't affect the result. They ended up going to overtime. But, a two-handed slash from there.
Certainly affected the result.
You can't be doing that.
No, it is poor. So Lauren Old obviously assessed a 3-game suspension, the first of which was the game against us. We're the 7-3 win against us that we took in Manchester on Saturday night, and he'll be suspended for 2 further games. Let me just share with you the goals of the week while I read you out a little bit of news. There were 2 other league games that took place. To get the goals of the week for people watching in, so in case they're bored of me talking. It happens. 2 other league games took place as well as ours at the weekend. The Clan hosted the Devils on Saturday and were beaten 3-1, while Guildford have bounced back. Certainly bounced back in a big way. It was 4-1 home win for them in Fife on Sunday, following a 6-0 cup victory over the Blaze in Coventry the day before. Sticking with the cup then, on Friday night there was a feisty affair in Cardiff, as we've just spoken about, that witnessed the Storm lose that 3-goal lead in the final 15 minutes following a major penalty on Nullet and forced into overtime. Blushes were saved for the Storm when Grant Herbert sealed the extra point for the visitors with 1 minute and 21 seconds gone in the extra session. 2 points for Nottingham in their cup challenge. A tight loss at home to their sister team in Sheffield was followed up by an OT victory in Coventry. And not a great weekend for friend of the show, Mark Lefebvre, as his Stars got nothing from the weekend, losing at home to the Clan and away to the Flyers. Now, the Flyers have come in for some criticism this week, icing a team bereft of any British talent or homegrown talent. A club that have prided themselves in the academy and hockey that they've cultivated over many years, for them not to have anyone in the lineup. And now they've also released Britton Priest because, to quote Tom Cullen, they needed to add an experienced player to the goaltending depth. That experienced player is 24-year-old Latvian Yanis Voras, as well as bringing in Cameron Kenny from the Kestrels, who will be a backup. I'll come to you on this. Says it doesn't sit well. You've got Fife, who for many years talked about that the depth they have, the players they were able to bring through, the talent that they've had, the Scottish talent that they've had. First of all, they don't ice, and sometimes it happens. They ice a team without Brits. There's no minimum or maximum. You can put out whatever you want, but you would think a team like Fife would pride themselves on having these young players, and then to let Priest go in the way that they have for a 24-year-old Latvian, something doesn't sit right.
Yeah, I obviously missed the show when you had Anthony on, and he was talking about the British core throughout the UK. The Fife have been a hotbed of talent producers over the last 30, 35, 40 years. I mean, some great players have come through Kirkcaldy over that time, and it's disappointing that they don't. I think for the first time at the weekend there, they hadn't had a Fife-born player or Kirkcaldy-born player in the team for God knows how long. It's it is disappointing. I don't know. Bryden Priest, he did all right the year before, and not the year before. Sorry, 2 years ago, he played for Dundee, didn't he? A couple of games.
He's been Dundee. He's been in Coventry. He's been he's a solid backup. He's a solid backup who was on the fringes of GB as well. I don't see why you would. Personally, obviously Tom Cullen has forgotten more about hockey than I know, but but still, when we look at this league, why would you get rid of a guy who's got the ability of Bryton Priest? Yes, a lot of teams are going with, including our own. Sorry, not our own, but a lot of teams are going with two imports, goaltending, like Dundee or most teams are. But still, Priest is a good asset to have in Fife.
Yeah, for sure. But look, we don't know the full situation. Obviously, I didn't even see the press release until you sent it out. You said this earlier on about him getting released, and I don't know what the story is with it. And a 24-year-old Latvian, I don't know how many games he's played. I don't know what experience he has. But it's just disappointing that they don't have a local player playing in their team again. I watched my first professional UK game in Fife. It was a Fife Flyers against the Murrayfield Racers back in 1988 or 89, I think it was. And the place was absolutely jumping. You know, some great players back then that played. You know, Tony Ham was playing for Murrayfield, his brother Paul, Chris Calland, and then you had John Kidnall was playing with Fife, and Bernie McCrone. You had so many good players way back then, and I grew up playing against a lot of them in the Scottish League, and obviously the BNL with Castlereagh Knights was always. Fife at that stage probably had. I think that back at that stage, there was 3 or 4 imports we were allowed. And the majority of players that they had were just actually from Fife and from Kirkcaldy. Let's be honest, there's nothing else to do in Kirkcaldy. You know, the Kingdom of Fife is...
Eat stovies.
They call it the Kingdom of Fife, but the Fife Ice Arena, even though it's 100 years old, is the centerpiece of it. They've got Wraith Rovers, who've got 10 men their dog go and watch. But it's just disappointing that they just can't find a way of getting the kids involved. Does it come down to the point of because they're not getting a chance, do they just want to go and play for the Kestrels? They want to go and play in the NIHL? I honestly don't know enough about it, Paddy, but it's just disappointing for the first time. And as long as I can remember, actually, do you know what? I can't ever remember a game the Fife Flyers have played when they haven't had a local player in their team. I can't, and then all the time I've been involved. It's really, it is. It's disappointing for sure.
To give Davy, to give the you know, I guess I said it quite flippantly. You know, they've brought in a 24-year-old Latvian. This lad's got, you know, KHL experience. He's played in Denmark. He's played in the Ukrainian leagues. He's played in he's come from the Erste Liga. You know, he's not inexperienced, like, because he's 24. He's actually, you know, played pretty. He was one of the players of the tournament for the under-20s junior world championships. You know, he has the ability. It's just, I guess there's a slight bit of bitterness, bitter taste when you see a guy who has the ability of Priest being cast aside for this, for bringing a Latvian or another import.
If it's as straightforward as that's a coach's choice where he thinks he's upgrading. If there's something else to it, then there's something else to it. But let's talk about it as if it's just an upgrade. Then, you know, a coach's choice. He feels that the Latvian kid's better than what he has. It's going to then be disappointing for Brighton. But it's one of those things. I can't remember whether it was Mark or whether it was the week that Anthony was on. Someone used the word trust. You know, you've got to be able to trust that. And this league in the last number of years has become so competitive. Your goalie is not going to be able to play 65 games anymore. You need to have a backup that can play maybe anything, you know, from the boys that are going to really ride their goalies hard and then maybe play 50 games. You want to be getting 15 games out of your backup. Maybe Tom Cullen didn't believe that Brighton Priest was going to be the guy that could backstop him in those 15 games. Maybe he's looking at somebody that he thinks can come in and play 25 games. I don't know, and it's, you talk about the importance of gaining those points that, you know, they will want to so badly be in the playoffs this year. Big season for Tom, big season for Fife, and it's very disappointing, yes, that they don't have any local talent in their squad. We talk about it often here about we talked about women's hockey last week, but it goes for the men's game as well. If you can see it, you can beat it. You know, if you can't see it, you can't beat it. Like the kids growing up coming to games. Whilst to see imports and all, if you see a local lad, if you see a Mark Marson, a Gareth Martin, you know, a Graham Walton, guys that you've seen standing at the bus stop before, guys who have stood in the stands with you before, you know, now playing for the team, and you're a kid, you're like, that could be me. And that gives you the impetus to go to training at 6 o'clock in the morning or 10:30 at night or whatever it might be, Simon. You know, that gives you want to go, you want to be Mark Marson, you want to wear number 20, you want to wear, you know, 18, beat Graham Walton, 21 as he did now and again. You know, you want to be those guys. And if they're not representing your team, you've got to, there's something a little more inside you when you're a fan, when Max Stewart scores. I know you go mental when Scott Conway scores, but there's something a little bit more inside you when Gareth Martin lifts the roof off, when, you know, any of these guys, when Chris Majimsey came on and had a shutout against Basingstoke. There's something just inherently different about supporting a local guy. Don't know what it is. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just sentimental otherwise because East Belfast is so deeply ingrained in me. But, you know, it's disappointing for Fife fans as well. You know, take the league aside and all. It's not really all that important. Fife put out the best product they can put out to try and get 2 points on Saturday night. But it's just disappointing for their fans and, I guess, collectively for, you know, a British league that there's no British players playing.
Yeah, disappointing. When you mentioned Mark Morrison there, we were talking about Fife. I thought about the other Mark Morrison.
Yeah.
The other Mark Morrison. Yeah, well, and then it just like while you were chatting, I do often. Yeah, I normally listen to you, Davy, and I was listening, but I also was checking out Mark Morrison, what he's doing now. He's actually head coach at the Manitoba Moose in the AHL, having been at the Anaheim Ducks as an assistant coach. Well, he was.
I saw him on Facebook the other day with his kids too. Or you're talking about the other one?
Yeah, I played against him. Paddy, what a player he was.
I look at his 5 numbers, Paddy.
Yeah,
scroll up and make his 5 numbers. They're just insane.
There's 5 numbers there.
Yeah,
but like 103 points in 40 games in 1998, 126 points in 35 games in 1997.
Against us.
I think goalies were optional in those days, were they?
Well, to be honest, it was arguably, I don't know if we had a goalie in net when we played them. They came into Belfast one night. We had, I think, even right down, this is when we lost the English guys due to the budgets that we had, and we ended up having to call up a couple of kids, 14, 15-year-olds. And I had to take a penalty to get off the ice. You know, sounds strange when I was getting penalties, but I just couldn't get off the ice. And Mark Morrison, do you know what? There's three of they. I think they beat us about 16 or 17-2. And there was 2 when they left when they played against us in Dundonald. I remember looking across their bench in the 3rd period, and there's 3 or 4 of the guys who were playing had changed at the end of the 2nd period and came back out and just stood along the bench because they were winning so easily. And they were basically saying, right, hurry up, we've got to get the ferry here. We want to get the earlier ferry. They were trying to get, I think the game started at 12:30, and they wanted to get the 3:30 ferry instead of have to wait to 7:30. And they were just trying to get the game over and done with. But he was something else. Like, what a player to play against. And you know, he was in Fife a long, long time. And just look at the players there from Fife, from Scotland. Stephen King, Fife. Ian Robertson, Fife. Bobby Haig, Fife. Derek King, Fife. You know, if you could go down that list, and I'll tell you now, Stephen Lynch was born in Fife, Gordon Latto, Greg Wilson, all Fife, Andy Samuel, Scotty Plews, absolute head case. All Fife.
Remarkable.
You know, so.
But here, says you were talking about imports and having 4 imports, and just because it's in my head, we were talking about them either yesterday or the day before. Obviously, you referenced Vasily Vasilenko. People that very few now would remember these guys. Who else was there that lived up in Vanville?
Dino Balba. You know, Igor Yurchenko, absolute mad yoke. Kevin Doherty has a kite 8 days a week. It was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous.
Did you ever tell this? Did you ever tell your story on the podcast, or was it just to us about the day that Jim asked you the 2 Russians or the 2 Ukrainians hadn't turned up to training?
They were mangled, like they were vibing up their house, and there was a bottle of vodka each in their hand at like 10 o'clock in the morning. And we were practicing at 10:30, and they basically, you know, it was they lived at the top of Vanville, 2 houses right side by side at the top of Vanville. And I'll tell you, you could write a book with it. Like, some of the stuff that came out a lot. Those 2 houses was absolutely ridiculous. I remember I invited them all around my house one night. It was Monday night football, and Sheffield Wednesday were playing. Dave Singleton was our goalie at the time. He was just single cell because there wasn't much up top. And Dave Singleton was just absolutely mental. And there was do you know what? It's not even a podcast story. I'd love to tell it.
I know that. I know this story.
It's ridiculous. Simon Keaton. Keats had come in from Cardiff Devils and played with us that season, and Keats was sick in my front garden. This is on a Monday night. Now, don't forget, Monday and Tuesday were our days off back then. So, I mean, Keats Dave Singleton had owed everybody money at this stage. This is probably mid-November.
Probably don't tell this story.
I'm not going to tell the whole thing. But he had owed everybody money, and we got to a stage of he wanted to do a forfeit and the forfeit was not. We can't tell you what it is. It was just ridiculous. And
I've got a mute Kitchy there. This story just has to stop now. It just has to stop. just in case he gets tempted or something. This story is now over. No, he's muted. I'm going to unmute you. No more.
But that's what happened.
We're gonna have to do a podcast story. Just actually, because you're going down that route a little bit. I want to listen. There was a great photograph of you with, is it the Donald Red Wings, the lads who were a brilliant photograph, all in their shirts at the game. It looks like a real get together. Fantastic photograph.
So that's back. I mean, Neil Welton, really good friend of mine. Was diagnosed with cancer, and his young brother Denver had organised that trip and that night to basically try and take his mind off it. He's fighting it and he's doing really well. But some of the guys that were there, I played with every one of them. I played with them all back in 1989. I was a kid. I mean, they're all older than me, by the way. But I started out playing with the Lagan Valley Lions, and then because they were all just local, so we were always playing in the Northern Ireland League at that stage. So there was the obviously the Red Wings were in it. There was a team from Bangor, there was a team from Coleraine, there was the Wolves, and there's a few other teams, the Racers as well. But literally to try and get me to the next level when I was 15, I ended up going to play with the Red Wings because we're going to Scotland. And there's some really good players back then. Like you've got Remy Mount, who still plays on a Sunday night with me when we were up in Dundonald. Johnson family over on the left-hand side with the sticky-on beard. But and then the baldy guy in the middle there, Billy Brown. Billy Brown, he was brought up in Ballybean. His family were from Canada, and he moved to Ballybean. He was a goalie, absolutely outstanding. He probably would have. I don't want to say he had got a starting position in the EIHL, but he would have been close. Billy was absolutely superb. Loved the pint, to the point where he was actually a lot of times he was drinking beer out of a water bottle during the game. But he was outstanding. There's some great guys back then that brought back a lot of memories, and it was great to see them all. But it's we're going to try and organise another one with all the old yesteryear players from the Red Wings and then the Castlereagh Knights and the Castlereagh Flames. We're going to try and get something organised to hold them down in another game at the arena in the future. But it was great to see them all.
There's a lot of hockey heritage in Belfast and around, and we don't want it to be lost, especially because the Belfast Giants being as successful as they are, it's good to remember that it's always been around. It's been around for decades, mate, and that's a great photograph. I really liked it when I saw it, and maybe we get a few more stories. We've got a request from Ethan Redmond for a view from the bridge after hours where we get these stories.
You could bring some guests on. Like it's just
you couldn't even repeat that story on an after hours. You couldn't.
Oh, it's a cracker. Like it's an absolute cracker.
We'll get that. Right. Let's start to wrap things up, lads. The Belfast Giants take on the Cardiff Devils this weekend on Saturday at 7 p.m. at the SSE Arena. Get yourself down there. I don't know how tickets are going, says for Saturday.
It's sold out. If it's not sold out, there's only a couple of single tickets left. But yes, it's I'm pretty much sold, and even next Sunday is very close to selling out as well. So we're flying, absolutely flying.
Absolutely brilliant. Well, then if you get yourself down to the SSE, if you haven't got a ticket, try your best to get one. And if you can't get there, you can join the lads on Giants TV. I think it's Stephen this weekend, Steve Butcher. I know he's a big shout out to him. Actually, he was tweeting about or Instagramming about us earlier today. So big shout out to him. I'm doing a great job. So we'll catch that on Giants TV. Any other business? I'm going to start just briefly on any other business. I just want to say hello to Tim Baker, who came up and said hello on Saturday, and a few guys who said hello on Saturday and Sunday at the game. It was a really, really good fun getting back in amongst the Giants fans. Tim had driven up from near you in Bath, mate. You taking a drive up with his family?
He's an absolute gentleman, lovely family as well. I got I picked up a DM from him on Sunday morning that he had sent on Saturday night. I hadn't seen him saying he was at the game. I'd love to catch up because lovely fella to talk to, but I didn't get it till the following day. So apologies, Tim. We'll catch up, I'm sure, in Coventry or Cardiff later in the season.
Absolutely. Nice to hear. And some nice comments from guys who came up and said hello on Saturday and on Sunday. So we really do appreciate it. Thank you very much. Any other business, boys?
Yeah, I have a couple. Dylan Kaki. It's his 5th anniversary today from the day that he was a donor and the recipient of a liver. So well done, Dylan. I know you're saying about the arena all the time, and good lad. So yeah, fantastic. It just goes to show that, you know, it's from all these special kids that Laura has basically built up over the years, and Dylan being one of them. But yeah, 5 years with a new liver, and he's doing great things. So yeah, great to see. And secondly, big shout out to Lynn Esdale. I'm speaking to her today. She's a sponsor of the arena. She works for PwC. Don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I've just did, so it doesn't matter. And I was speaking to her today, and she says, "Oh, I can't wait to watch the podcast tonight. I've got you on Apple TV. I'll have you on a 70-inch screen in the living room." And I'm going, "Lynn, you need to get out more, love. That's just wet."
It's 70-inch.
Yeah, she's sitting watching us at home. Hi, Lynn. Hope you're keeping well.
Hi, Lynn.
You get stays across the 70-inch screen. Look at that. Oh,
just like to also say to Lynn, you know, if you're listening, the PwC AVFTB podcast sounds like that's fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
we don't
All
call
sorts of
PricewaterhouseCoopers anymore. We don't call it Pricewaterhouse. It's PwC.
No, it's PwC.
Yeah.
You want to see their new building in Belfast? It's absolutely superb.
Used to be at Mays Meadow. Used to have that big one at Mays Meadow, isn't it? The PwC.
No, it's all gone. It's in Wellington Place now. It's absolutely stunning.
Oh, brilliant. Right, if that's it, boys, then we'll start to wrap things up. Like I said, that game on Saturday is Belfast against Cardiff, 7 p.m. at the SSE. Very few tickets remaining. Otherwise, get it on Belfast Giants TV. Big thanks to Bo Hanson. Big thanks to JJ Piccinich. I've written Jason Bowen on my screen. That's an Anchorman one. Big thanks to JJ Piccinich for pulling us out of a hole. We will get Jason on. We will get Johnny on and all that, and maybe Rob Stewart, and we'll get some of these legends on to talk, because it is the 25th season of the Belfast Giants. It'd be great to go back and maybe just get a few others who have been through the years over the history of the Giants. But yeah, but big thanks to Bo and to JJ for coming on. Thanks to you boys, as always. Big thanks to you boys, as always. Big thanks to everybody who's been
just before you keep going there, Paddy, stick it out there. If there's anybody out there that would like to sponsor the AVFTB podcast, get in touch. We're open to negotiation. Certainly, you know, it's basically just going to add to the product, and we'll see what we can do for you.
Absolutely. We'll do it, and then we'll have that chat. The big thanks to everybody who's been tuning in, who's been sending messages to the show, at AVFTB on Twitter, podcast at kingdomofthegiants.com, www.kingdomofthegiants.com. We're on Instagram, on Apple Podcasts, on YouTube, on X, all that sort of stuff. You know that anyway. Mr. Majemsi and Mr. Kitchen, always a pleasure.
Posey's just texted me and says they can do it now if you want.
I'm on the bed. We'll have Bosey on next week. We'll on next week. Big soon. But big thanks to everybody. And wherever you are this weekend, we hope you enjoy your hockey. We'll catch you here next time on A View from the Bridge.